In order to work as safely and effectively as possible, you need to plan your felling. Start by checking the applicable local regulations where you plan to fell. The first thing to consider is having somebody with you. Never go out into the forest by yourself. Have a mobile phone with you if possible, so you can quickly call for help if something should happen. The first step is to decide the direction of the fall. If a tree is leaning, or if its branches are hanging to one side, the simplest way is to fell the tree in that direction. If it is windy, you will need to take the wind direction into account when you plan your felling. Avoid trees close to power lines, buildings, and busy roads. If there are other people in the vicinity, they must be at a safe distance equivalent to at least 2 tree lengths. Clear the ground around the tree to ensure you can easily get at the trunk. When the tree falls, you need to move a few meters diagonally back. Consequently, you must also clear your path of retreat behind the tree. Saw off all lower branches that might be in the way, but remember never to saw higher than shoulder height. Once again, do not stand straight behind the saw. Bear in mind the risk of kickback and use the trunk as a barrier between you and the saw. In order to fell the tree in the right direction, we adopt the technique known as directional felling. This means that you saw to a hinge, a holding strip, that forces the tree to fall in the chosen direction. To create this hinge, you start by sawing a triangular piece from the trunk at the same side as the tree is to fall. This is called the directional notch. The next cut, the felling cut, is sawn from the opposite side. You do not saw completely through, but leave a strip of fibers that will serve as a hinge. Decide exactly where you want the tree to fall. Try to direct the fall so that the tree lands on a rock or log. This will give you a better working height when removing branches. Stand with your legs apart behind the tree with your left shoulder resting against the trunk and look straight ahead along the line of the felling direction. Start by sawing the top cut of the directional notch. Align the saw by aiming with the front handle. The handle on a Jonsered saw is exactly at right angles to the guide bar. Check that your left thumb is gripped around the handle, run at full throttle, and apply the chain diagonally downwards at a minimum 60-degree angle. Saw into about 1/5 of the thickness of the trunk. Saw at a height that allows enough room for the bottom cut. Remain in the same position and saw the bottom cut of the directional notch. Run at full throttle before you apply the saw. Here you can accelerate using your thumb. Aim the bottom cut diagonally upwards towards the innermost part of the top cut. If you look down in the top cut, you will see exactly where both cuts meet. Start by making an insert from the side of the trunk. When making the insert, it is important to start with the bottom of the guide bar to avoid kickback. Saw towards the directional notch and leaving a breaking strip of even thickness of between 2 to 3 centimeters. If the guide bar extends to the trunk, you saw after the insert diagonally backwards and save a corner of uncut wood on the rear edge. The tree is still safe if you can apply the felling implement and stop the tree from falling backwards. If the guide bar does not extend through the trunk, you will need to make a similar insert from the other side after the initial insert. The end results should be the same: a tree that stands firm on the breaking strip and the safe corner. For a large tree where there is a lot of space for the wedge or breaking bar, you can cut the safety ring at the felling cut level. If the space is confined, saw immediately under with a little overlap instead. The corner will then release by splitting, and you will avoid the risk of sawing into the felling implement by mistake. If you use a wedge, it is advisable to knock in the wedge a few times before cutting the safety ring. When the tree starts to fall, move a couple of meters diagonally backwards to ensure you are not struck by the butt end of the log flying up.